Greg Rice, is it, or Reese?
Yeah, that's correct. It's right.
Which captioning are you confirming?
With Dave Fox remodeling.
Fox. Okay, thank you.
I'm trying to join on my iPad, but it won't let me in.
I'm sorry?
It says there's no such meeting number. I'm trying to join from my iPad, and it says the meeting number is not correct.
Let me try to send you a link directly from here. Let's see. Is that which email is it? The B Ruff? Is that the email?
Yeah, it's the B Ruff. You can do GREIS at Dave Fox. GREIS at Dave Fox.
Okay.
From this original B Ruff one, it won't let me in.
Okay, I just sent it. See if that works.
Okay.
I can.
Hello, good afternoon.
Oh, there you are. Bernie, can you mute your sound for me, please? Really
Yes. What's that? Oh, or mute the sound, is that what you said? Sure.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I'm in.
Good. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Well, I'm pretty sure we've got 3 more members that will be joining us. And then once we have a quorum, we can start the meeting. But as of right now, we've only got 2 actual members on here, so cross your fingers. Hi, Ralph.
Hi there.
How are you, Ralph?
Pretty good.
This
Haven't
is
seen
all.
everybody in what, almost a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's David Morgan, too. Just in time.
Mr. Morgan, how are you? Wendy, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you today?
Good, unless you tell me otherwise. So, Tony, should you get started? Should we get started?
Everything's running. If you want to start, we've got a quorum, and I've got the YouTube running, and I've got the meeting being recorded, and I've got my machine ready to go. So go ahead.
I believe we should go ahead and get started. And we need,
here.
Pardon me?
Mr. Lance is not here. He may join later. So I guess, Mr. Morgan, are you still vice chair, or is Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown is the chairman.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the irregularly scheduled meeting of January meeting of the Columbus Building Commission. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from here?
Mr. Chairman, I believe those are not the correct last meeting minutes.
You think they're not the last meeting minutes?
No, I'll tell you why, because the last meeting we elected officers, and there's no mention of that there. And I noticed in my tax preparation that I got paid for 2 meetings in January.
Huh. Wow, I didn't even notice that.
I did get your email, Mr. Morgan. I just haven't had a chance to research that yet. I'm sorry. I don't have a record of you meeting since January, but it could have been. I know that we canceled the March meeting because it was supposed to be the day that was our last day in the office. But I will look into that.
So we may or may not have already elected officers. Is that correct?
Well, for last year.
Okay, should we move on with the agenda then?
Please.
First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, which we're not going to approve until it's researched by Tony. Third item, adjudication order A02020-002 AMG, Travis Bucklew. Mr. Bucklew here.
Yes, sir. You hear me? Uh,
Okay, are you there, Mr. Brown?
Mr. Bucklew, would you like to tell us in your own words why you're here for us today?
it was a project over on 2789 Wedge Street. Or I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, that was the actual address. We replaced some 2x4s in a wall. And then we got a letter that we didn't pull permit, saying that our license was revoked.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
we need to swear in the appellant.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
And I'd like to ask anyone else who is not speaking right now to mute your microphone.
Okay. Swearing officer to be involved in this case. That would be Travis and Amit. And who else would be? You'd swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. So you had a meeting with the let's see. The home improvement contractors, is that correct?
No, I haven't been to any. This is the first meeting that I've been to. Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess the question is, who revoked your license?
The city of Columbus.
Really, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry, you talking to me?
Yes.
I didn't hear what the question that the chairman asked.
So you say that the city revoked your license and it wasn't the home improvements, general home improvements? I don't know. The board of review. It says in this packet that the board of review revoked your license. Amit, do you have any idea who revoked his license?
He's appealing. Yes, Mr. Chair, he's appealing the HIC board's decision.
Okay.
Home Improvement Contractor Board's decision.
Okay. We didn't get a transcript of that meeting. At least I don't have it.
It should be in your packet.
Oh.
And the other thing, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
We have not suspended during this COVID emergency. We have not suspended anyone's license. So
okay.
Mr. Buckley's license has not been suspended either. So
okay.
Whatever the board decides will be something that will be going forward.
Okay. Is this your first run-in? Your first problem with the HIC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Not having the transcript in front of me. Does anybody else have read the transcript? It seems kind of severe for one infraction.
Mr. Brown, I can email that to you right now. I'm sorry, it should have been in your packet.
It might have been, I may have not printed it out. Ralph, have you read the yeah, whatever it's called? Have you read from the HIC their ruling? Tony, I hate to say, yeah, go ahead. Ralph, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Ralph, I'm trying to unmute you. Here we go. Oh, no, he's fine.
It shows that Ralph's muted.
How about
I
how
tried
about
to-
now?
There it is.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, don't know why.
I don't know either. Technology, isn't it wonderful? Look, have you read, Ralph, you read the transcript from the HIC?
Yes.
What's your feeling that this being the first infraction that he's had to revoke his license? Did it say how long they were revoking his license?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
his license was revoked by the other board.
Okay, HIC. And what was the term of it? Oh, it's revoked. Okay.
It was revoked because he was doing work that was not anything to do with his abbreviated license. He had
Oh,
electrical work, he had plumbing work, carpentry work. He's only licensed to do masonry and waterproofing of
okay.
Um, we didn't do any of the electrical work. The property manager, Joshy, he had hired his own electrician, and we also did not do any plumbing. So we did the brick front where the building was hit by a vehicle, and we replaced the studs that were also damaged behind the brick.
Well, the inspector's report said that you'd had the electrical work and the plumbing work done.
No, sir.
Did you appear at this meeting to
I
hear
did
your
not.
case? Why didn't
I didn't.
you?
That I'm not sure.
You were certified, you got certified notice, and someone at your office signed for it about the meeting.
Okay. That I don't know why I wasn't there. I mean, that was quite a while ago.
Well, you know, when you don't appear for you don't appear for a meeting to defend yourself, it sort of sends a message that you really are not very serious about it.
Right. No, I understand that.
Mr. Chair, this is Ahmed, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Buckley, when you picked up the building permit, did it not say additional permits required for the electrical work?
I don't believe there was any permit pulled of any kind.
Oh, okay.
I know I didn't pick anything up for our end.
Had there been a permit pulled, it would have said that electrical permit is required for the electrical work. So since there were no permits, there were no directives from the building department to say, okay, you need an electrical permit.
Right, but we didn't do the electrical.
But you did do work without a permit.
The 2x4s. We had replaced some 2x4s, so yes.
And brick, didn't you say you did something with brick?
The
The
wasn't
brick.
where we would have needed a permit for that. So I thought all this was over the 2x4s. We replaced 5 foot of 2x4s, so what, maybe 4, 5 2x4s
Mm.
was the extent of the damage. And then the brick as well.
Right.
So I didn't, we've, we didn't pull a permit for the 2x4s. No, we did not. But the other work, we did not do the electrical and plumbing. We just did the framing and the brickwork.
The indication was that you were acting as the general contractor in that.
No.
Well, that's what the inspector, he cited you for electrical and plumbing work and carpentry work.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't know. Like I said, the property manager, he had hired his own plumber, his own electrician. We had no hand in any of that. Just the framing. On that one wall, there was additional framing that was needed with the stairs, but that was, whether that was ever done or not, I'm not aware. That was long after we were gone. And that was all whatever he had hired after us.
I think the only mention was that you were gonna not do the door.
And we did not do the door either. So in our original estimate that we had wrote to the property manager, it said we'll update the estimate to reflect the new door once pricing comes in, and we never got that far.
Do you have a copy of your first estimate?
Yes.
Could we see that? Or could you read it to us? How about reading it to us?
Yep. So the top's got all our info. You want all that as well, or just the scope of work? Scope of work, brick repair, quantity 1, rate $2,913.75. Remove and replace approximately 6 to 5 foot of brick where damaged by car. Remove studs and replace where damaged. Replace plywood and wrap. Spot tuck cracks above door. And then the note at the bottom says we'll update estimate to reflect new door once pricing comes in. Current estimate does not include door. And I can scan that and email it to whomever need be.
Is it possible that this could be sent back to the HIC and he could show up this time and present his case?
Mr. Chair, could you repeat yourself? I couldn't hear you properly.
Yeah. Is it possible that we could remand this back to the HIC? He could show up at that hearing and plead his case?
You could. They have already revoked his license, so I don't know what that will achieve for him. Now, if you want to, if the board as a composite wants to reduce his license and want the HIC to consider that, they will. Now, typically that process would mean that he would have to get details about who hired the other contractors and who the other contractors were. Then we can follow up and see who did other work, the plumbing work, the electric work, and replacing the door, replacing the stairs that Mr. Buckley is talking about. And we can, or you can ask for that information, and we can go from there.
Mr. Chair, or Ahmed, I'm sorry, Wendy, I don't believe he's not supposed to submit additional information to this board, correct?
Yes.
Wendy? Is she on here? I just thought, like, when it's an appeal, it's only to be based on the information that was discussed at the previous meeting that he's appealing. If he has new evidence, then it would have to go, I believe, back to the HIC board.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that he could go back to the HIC and submit additional information.
Hold on, Wendy's trying to speak and she's muted or something. I don't see that you're muted, Wendy.
That the information that the HIC board had, they did not have any information about who did the plumbing or the electrical work. They observed that it was done and they assumed that he did it or had it done under his scope of work. He needs to go back there and explain to them and have the owner there also to say who performed that work and who paid for it.
I agree. I think that's the way to proceed.
Let's see if Wendy can weigh in. If that's an avenue we can take, we will.
And Wendy, I tried using number 4 and 6, and number 4 is muted, but I can't. It says request sent to unmute, and I've tried unmute all, and it's not working either. She said, she's giving me cats, and she said, maybe, Wendy, maybe just go out and try to come back in again. Just gonna try that.
What are we trying to do here?
Get Wendy's opinion.
She there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, sorry, I'm hearing a lot of feedback. I'm not sure. Let's see. Looking at the code, it says the decision of the building commission may reverse, modify, or affirm the order. So, that it doesn't specifically say that you can, send it back to the HIC board, but I think in this instance, because he didn't appear at the previous hearing, and there's really not much to go on the record, that's not an unreasonable action to take.
We have done that a number of times.
Right.
Does anybody have any more discussion? If not, could I get a motion then, please?
I'll make a motion that this be remanded to the Home Improvement Board.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, how does he go about going back in front of the HIC? Does he have to do another application?
No, I will put it on the agenda and send him the information.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Travis.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Buckley, I will tell Cliff Spruill, who's the secretary to the HIC board, that your case is coming back to the HIC board. And like Mr. Morgan said, you need to have, when you appear, it's our expectation that you would have the names of the people that did the plumbing work, the electrical work, and the property owner, or the you say the maintenance manager or whoever had the other work done.
Okay.
You need information about all of that. That you didn't do any of the work that would be way outside of your license.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is adjudication order A02020-018ACC. The applicant Brenda Fox is the applicant here, or a representative.
Yes, we are.
Okay, could you swear in? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. You want to present your
Their
case
name
then?
for the record.
Brenda Ruff with Dave Fox Remodeling.
Greg Rice with Dave Fox Remodeling, production manager.
Ahmed Ghosh, Ghosh, with the city of Columbus.
Okay, if you would then present your case, please.
Back at around September 28th, we applied for a multifamily building permit to do some drywall work and minor framing in the lower level of a condominium unit. The unit had water damage in the lower level. Therefore, the drywall was demoed and framing was repaired. It was rotten from the water damage. The client wanted to add some storage areas, so we submitted for a building permit. Unfortunately, one of the existing steel beam sits at 74 inches above the finished floor. This is against current code. Although the building was, the condo unit was built in 1973 with the lower level finished at the time. So this is an existing condition that now does not meet code.
Is the beam the only thing that's at 74 inches, or are the ductworks lower too?
There is some mechanical duct The beam sits lower than the ductwork does.
Right.
How high is the ductwork?
It's above the 76-inch code limit.
Okay.
And just to clear the record, the work done in the field was only to replace what was existing. There was no new soffit build down, no additional done. So it was done just to replace what was there that was water damaged. So we did not alter the actual height or the lack of height in this case to the soffits in any way, shape, or form. We just put back to existing height.
Okay. So the darker post shade lines on this proposed drawing, are those the new drywall walls?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any board members have any comments, please?
So when you come down the basement stairs, you would be going right to a wall that the beam would not be exposed to, correct? I mean, the beam's going to be hidden in that wall.
The beam is back in the main area through if you look back behind the stairs is where the beam actually goes. So it's like 3 foot to 4 foot behind the existing stairs. There's no beam in front of the stairs.
So it's the upper dashed line is the beam.
Correct.
I think we're confusing the soffit line that's in here as being the beam, but the dashed line is, so it bears on the fireplace, goes behind the stairs, and then is it buried in that existing wall? The mechanical utility room wall?
Well, here, if you look at where the foundation squares are dashed behind the stairs, it runs perpendicular to the stairs, but parallel with the front and back masonry walls of the basement. So your beam is actually in your soffit area from the fireplace back towards the back of the actual basement. Does that clarify?
Yeah, it does. What's the height of the existing soffit, I guess is what I'm asking.
In that area, 74 inches.
Okay.
And the basement was occupied space previously? Original design? Finished?
Yes, it was a finished basement.
Does the board have any other questions?
None here.
Okay. Could we have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, if I may, this is
Yes.
Amit. Typically with
Yes.
existing conditions such as this, in the past, and I believe the plans examiner, Austin Capel, has communicated that to the appellant that we usually look for some extra lighting and monitored smoke detection. So I just submit that to the board.
Yeah, I was just looking at in the minutes from the case we heard last year. We did. That's exactly what we did.
Well, just as a clarification, at the bottom of the stairs, there is an existing smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector located in the basement.
It's at the bottom of the stairs then?
Yes, it's on your prints with the permit.
Oh, I see it. Okay, gotcha.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
Mr. Reese, this is, or Rice, I'm sorry, this is a condominium unit. Are these smoke detectors monitored?
When you say monitored, can you define what you mean by monitored? Are they chained
Meaning
together?
it calls a central station if there, or a central station calls the fire department if one of the detectors go off.
And Brent, I don't know if it does or not. I would have to ask the owner that question if they're having it monitored.
And are these smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors interconnected? Do they inform the whole house or whole unit?
Again, without me going out and testing it directly, I couldn't answer you truthfully and tell you yes or no.
Because let me explain myself, because the reason we look for that, so that the basement we know, and it's an existing condition, that it is, if there's a fire in the basement, the ceiling and the beam being lowered, the heat plume will build up, and it will be a danger to the occupants and to the fire department. So the whole intent for all of this is that the notification is early through a central station so that the fire doesn't get to be that big. And also the interconnection is that so that people in other parts of the building can get out so that no one's put in danger.
No, I
to
understand.
the extent possible.
Yeah, I understand your request. I see what you're asking. We're calling the project manager right now to see if those are chained together. I couldn't tell you if they're monitored, but that really, we don't, we're not required when we pull a permit to make sure that it's monitored. I'm not sure that that's required in the code, Ahmet. I mean, yes, it would be great if it was for every condo, because I can remember when we had trouble out at the Little Turtle complex that wasn't. And we didn't have the correct fire stopping out there, and quite a few units were lost. So I understand your request. I'm just not sure if it is monitored or not.
When you applied for the appearance before this board, did the plans examiner explain this to you, that the board will typically look for these in order for them to grant the appeal?
It was mentioned that there might have to be a subsequent fire alarm system installed, but there was nothing, no research requested for us to do.
Matt,
There was, Ahmet, I don't think there was a correction letter stating that we had to have an alarm system installed. So usually we get a correction letter to get our approval. It was, as Brenda said, mentioned, it might have to. To us, that doesn't mean that it's a written code violation that needs fulfilled.
This wouldn't have been. Yes, Mr. Kramer.
we typically in private condo units don't see the private units being monitored. If there's common areas like in a high-rise condo that have a foyer, elevator, etc., common areas are typically monitored, but not a private space typically. is what we see.
I would agree with you. But this will be up to the board to, because I realize there are other units in this complex that are not and are being occupied. So this will be up to the board. And to answer your question, Mr. Rice, is that this wouldn't have been a correction item because you were going before the board, and the board gets to decide what they consider as equivalent level of safety. So this is not and typically this is what they have requested in other existing conditions, other existing basements. But I'll let the chair and the board give you the directive.
Hey, Greg, what's the fire rating between the condo units? 1 hour, 2 hour?
2 hours as far as we know, without getting in and tearing through the drywall, but that's what we pretty much have a pretty good idea it is. Now, we have not gone into the attic to see if there's a party wall between the units. I know it is a condo 4-family, and typically what they do with those trusses is they put 5/8 drywall on them where the common wall is, but we did not go up and check it. Again, we were dealing with water damage in a basement for the repair, so we made no alterations upstairs or anywhere else. So I wish I could, again, I'm not trying to skirt the answers, but I can't truthfully answer it, Scott.
Greg, did you find out whether those smoke detectors are interconnected or not?
We're not sure. The project manager just responded, and he said, I'm not sure if they are or not, without putting a tone test on them and make sure that they're wired together or pushing the button. So, and he's not on site to do that.
Yeah, current code, you have to tie them together typically nowadays.
Yeah. Now, I was around in 73. I'm not sure what the commercial 4-family was back then, whether they had to or not. So I'm sure they were inspected and had to comply with it, but I don't know what it was back then.
How old were you back then?
I was actually in my teens. I hate to say that.
Okay.
Does anyone have any further issues or questions? If not,
I will make one statement. As you can see with the added storage area, cased opening, no doors, that we've eliminated half of the ceiling height with that beam issue actually in the basement with the addition of that area. So we're actually cutting down the lower beam in an actual walkway area in the basement.
right. Is that anybody ready for a motion? If anybody wants to present a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that the lower beam be accepted, providing additional smoke detectors are installed in the craft room and in the workroom at the back, tied in with the existing smoke and carbon monoxide sensors, and ensure they're all tied together, including the ones upstairs. And that an emergency light be installed at the bottom of the stairs and in the craft room to allow for exit egress.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. I believe the motion still passed. We had one nay. Okay.
Mr.
All
Chair,
right.
if I may, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Chair and Mr. Kramer, are you stipulating that a permit is required for this additional smoke detection? And if there is no interconnection, that the interconnection happens?
You need a permit probably for the emergency lighting since it's 120-volt wiring for that.
I'm talking about the smoke detection. Do they need to pull a fire alarm permit?
I wouldn't think so since it's additional devices that aren't required by code per se.
Okay, so do we need to go back and verify that they're interconnected and they're installed properly?
Correct. They have to verify they're interconnected. The downstairs with the upstairs, first floor and the second floor, assuming there's a second floor, bedroom floor level, that they're all connected together.
So we do need a permit to do so? That's my question.
We have a permit. Are you asking for a separate mechanical permit?
A fire alarm permit.
Yeah, commercial
I'm asking
fire
for
alarm.
clarification. Yes.
Yeah, we typically include the smoke detection as part of electrical permit when we do condos or apartments. It's part of the electrical permit.
Okay.
And plan reviewers look at that. They'll make you add them if you don't have them in per code. I think you need a permit.
So
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
so
for
he
the
would have to go back
clarification.
and get a separate permit.
Well,
Separate
can I
permit.
clarify that we can amend the permit that we actually have to incorporate now the smokes rather than
Mr. Rice, do you have an electrical permit?
We don't have permit granted to us yet.
Yeah, we're still.
We've just applied.
Okay. The reason I asked for all that, you're correct, Ms. Ruff. When you get your plan approval, I will instruct the plans examiner, Austin Capel, that your electrical permit should be amended to show the additional smoke detectors and whatever interconnection is necessary based on the board's decision.
Ahmet, can I clarify one thing with the connection? There's a stipulation
Sure.
in the code that we could use wireless. So before we do evasive tearing out of drywall and having to interconnect and run wires to other smokes and COs outside the bedroom, you will permit us on the commercial permit to use a wireless system if we have to?
I believe we will.
Okay.
I believe we will. Now, usually that involves a router that has a power backup. And
battery backup, yes.
Yes. And as long as the router has the 24 hours of standby and 5 minutes of alarm. So as long as that router is backed up by that power supply, yes.
Okay. I just don't want to have to tear into their condo if I don't have to and do evasive.
I completely agree with you. They'll never invite you back if you do that.
Yeah, and this is one of our good clients. This is like their 4th project with us. And they called us to do the repairs.
I shouldn't say they'll never. You'd probably be disinvited
probably.
if you did that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kramer.
Okay, did we want to amend your motion at all?
I'd like to amend it to allow wireless smoke detection interconnected with the other devices.
With the battery backup?
With 24-hour standby and 5-minute alarm backup.
All right. So we have a motion. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. You will get your application or your approval then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is adjudication order AO 2021-001. And I guess Mr. Frankel and Alex Long will be testifying. Is that correct?
I don't believe we heard back from Mr. Long.
Oh. Let's hear from Bernie, please.
Don't forget to swear him in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear him anyway. All those testifying, please we'll swear you in. Do you agree to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. Mr. Frankel, would you present your case, please?
Sure.
And state your name for the record, please.
Okay. My name is Bernie Frankel, Bernard Frankel. I'm a building inspector with the city of Columbus. A while back, I had an inspection with this project. I don't have the date in front of me, but we can look that up and I can get back to you if you like.
November 10th, it says on the application.
Okay. Contacted the contractor. They were doing a remodel at a small strip center and got a hold of them, came through the back door and through the kitchen. This is apparently a Vietnamese restaurant that they're building. And very nice people, said hello, and they're very excited to try and get this final done. This is what they're looking for, is a final inspection. And sat down to look at the paperwork and saw that they didn't have their framing signed off. From the inspection record, it appeared that the walls were signed off, minus the hood wall because it had not been inspected by HVAC, and the above ceiling had not been inspected. So I informed the contractor that, okay, this is what we got to work with. And he said something along the lines of, oh, that was inspected. Okay, well, we'll look into it. And I didn't see anything in the records that indicated that it had been inspected. I did him the favor of looking in the phone to make sure that nobody had stopped out there and put something in the record on Excel without putting it in paper. Didn't see anything. And basically informed him that this was a problem, that we didn't have the ceiling signed off and it's closed in. So trying to be helpful, I went back to the kitchen with the paperwork to look at the walls. In the kitchen, the drop ceiling, and the front dining area, there's a drywall ceiling with different. And what I was trying to look for was whether or not the walls need to be rated or not. It wasn't clear in the plans that they needed to be rated. It's a very small strip center. So anyway, I went back to where the ceiling tiles could move and see what was going on. Couldn't see a lot. I went back to the main area where there's a drywall ceiling and there was a hatch in the ceiling and there's a ladder underneath the hatch. So, they set up the ladder for me and I walked up into the hatch to see what I could see across the ceiling. If we could see what we need to see, maybe we could do something about it. And when I did walk up to the ladder and look through the hatch, I could see a hole in the the wall, and it appeared to be a rated wall. I forget whether I looked back at the plans or somehow figured it out that it was rated. But I saw a hole in a rated assembly, and I let the guy know that something that I couldn't go any further. Basically, he'd have to go repair the hole, and we had to inspect above ceiling to make sure everything was structurally sound. I forgot to mention that before, trying to help the guy out and get things sorted out. When I went back to the kitchen, he was, really nice guy. He was like, "Hey, is there anything we can do about this?" And he intimated to his pocket, and I just said, I tried to look past that and just kept going with my inspection to see if I could help me figure this out. And went up and saw the hatch. And then when I came back down from the ladder, I started to write up my stuff. I went back to the kitchen to grab the paperwork. And next to the paperwork was a large sum of cash sitting there. So I thought that was interesting. I took a picture of it, and I let him know that I wouldn't need the cash and that I would, write up my findings and, let him know what he needed to do to proceed. I would say that I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time there, so after I wrote up my records, I went ahead and left, and that was all there was until he contacted a supervisor to have him figure out what it was he had to remove in order for us to perform the inspection that was skipped.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Bernie's supervisor, Ken, is here. And
Okay.
if you want him to, he went back to the job. If you want him to swear in and tell you what he saw when he went back, we can do that.
Let's do that. Good. I'm sorry, the name, your supervisor's name is what?
Ken Bruin.
Ken Bruin.
Okay. Ken, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
He might be on mute.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. All right. Could you give us your version of the story, please?
Yeah. Bernie called me the day of his inspection and explained to me what happened, and I told him what we needed to do and what he needed to do to follow through. Shortly after that, on 11/16, I was scheduled for an inspection by Alex. He had scheduled it, and I had gone out there to take a look at it and see if there's something that I could do for him as well. When I got to the job site, the paperwork was it was torn in half. It was not, legible, and I found it just like Bernie had said, that the drywall ceiling, which was supposed to be remain open and just painted, was covered with drywall, and there were some lower areas of the ceiling that I'm going to refer to as drywall clouds. I found that those weren't supported. I asked Alex how he framed them, and he told me, but I was able to discover later that what he told me wasn't fact. So I told him at that point that I was going to have to write a plan discrepancy on the job, which is a procedure, policy and procedure we have when we find contradicting information, what's in the field and what's on the approved drawings. So I wrote that plan discrepancy, at which time Dave Daniels, the inspection manager, determined that the drywall ceiling needed to come down and the acoustical ceiling in the kitchen needed to be opened up for inspections. I then went back to the job on the 17th and posted a stop work order for the work that was done that was not approved, which was the drywall ceiling in the main dining room. As time dragged on, Alex finally did submit some drawings and called and asked if I could help him out by getting the job started. And I wanted to, you know, give him the opportunity to be proactive. So while he's waiting on the approved drawings or the revision to be approved, I asked if he had a copy of the drawings, which he did have. And I said, okay, I'll meet you out on the job site. That's not normal practice to do this, but I did it to help him out and help the restaurant owner out. But when I got there and I looked at the drawings that he submitted for a revision, it wasn't accurate. There were so many details still missing that if they were approved, we would just have to write another plan discrepancy and start all over again. So I told Mr. Alex, I told Alex that there was nothing I could do. I can't remember. I think I might have canceled that inspection so he could get his money back. I don't recall. I'd have to go back and check the records on that. But that was on 12/17 that took place. Since then, there have been a couple more revisions submitted, but they're not accurate drawings. In fact, there were two drawings that contradicted each other. So the plans examiner, Mark Keckenmuller, worked directly with the architect and told him exactly what was missing. And I'm not sure where it stands at this time.
Gentlemen, Wendy asked me to let you know that the contractor was mailed a letter, certified mail, but we do not have any proof that he received the letter yet. So we don't actually have confirmation that he is aware that the hearing is being held today.
Well, what's the pleasure of the board? I mean, I surely would like to hear the contractor's side of the story. Mark, any comments? David?
Is this something we could table till the next meeting?
That's what I would advise. All I need is a motion to do that.
I'd like to make a motion to table this until the next scheduled meeting.
Second? Did I get a second? I'm sorry. You, okay. All in favor? All opposed? I'm assuming it passed, but does anybody really know? Well, I'm going to say it passed. Thank you. So we'll see you at the next board meeting, or at the next meeting, which I assume is going to be next month.
That would
Thank
be
you
correct,
all.
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you all. All right. We have another item on the agenda. Probably controversial. Election of officers. David, you remember? You seem to remember we had the election at the last meeting last year, but there's nothing in the notes saying that.
No, I know. I'll move that you be the chairman. Year.
Railroaded right into that. Thank you, Dave.
I second that.
All right, I guess you'll need to take a vote then. Hearing no objections, I guess I'm chair this year.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to elect a vice chair, or how's that all work? Wendy or?
I'm pretty sure we need a vice chair.
I'm looking at the code. It doesn't really say, let's see. I don't have the bylaws, excuse me, in front of me, and I think it's in the bylaws as to what officers there are. I think you should probably go ahead and elect a vice chair in case you go on vacation or something, Mr. Brown.
Right. Well, I would like to propose that we elect David as the vice chair, since he's the longest term, the oldest member.
You make a motion?
I'd like the motion that we elect David as the vice chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Yeah, Ralph,
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I guess off the record, I don't know how successful this experiment is, because it didn't go well. You couldn't hear half the time. Unless we can improve the presentation, I don't know that we should do this, because it's quite frankly annoying.
Well, you have to have a public meeting, and at this point, this is how we are doing it. Unless, if I don't know, the director of building and zoning were to somehow get an exception for you to meet in person at the building and zoning department conference room or the large meeting room, you could do that. And public health has, in-person hearings at this time. But,
oh, do they?
Yeah. Hopefully hopefully we'll be able to get back to in-person within the next month or two.
Oh, well, that would be good. What's the rest of the board's feeling? You want to just continue this way until we can get together again?
Yeah, I'm in favor of continuing as is.
Okay. Hopefully, we can work out some of the bugs about being muted, and half the people. I don't see pictures of half the people, so I don't know half the time who's on. I didn't even know when he was there. So
my camera doesn't work, so.
Ah, okay. You must be caller number 7.
I think that's right. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll proceed. Next month, we'll do the same thing, and see whether we can get some of the bugs worked out on the sound and everything else.
Hey, Wendy, before we leave, Wendy, what's your thoughts on this wad of cash?
Well, I don't think I can give you my thoughts. It's strictly a board decision, but I did want to to be clear with regard to whether or not he actually received service, that he was being called in front of the board for that issue.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to hear his side of the story also.
Right.
Well, there's not very many reasons he could have put it there, I don't think.
Well, maybe it was paying off his staff. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it dropped out of his pocket.
Well, I think it's a pretty serious thing trying to bribe, if he's trying to bribe the inspector.
Well, that is pretty serious, but you know, do
Well,
we actually?
I mean, it is a criminal offense, but the building and zoning department chose to bring it before you instead of, making any sort of report. So,
Right. So we
That's
do
all
have the
we
option of we have the option of revocation of the license and also revocation of a permit. Is that correct?
under 4107 or 03, yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you determine that there's been incompetency, unfair, unjust, inexplicable, or fraudulent practices or violation of the law.
Okay. It sounded to me like, the inspectors were pretty familiar with this guy, so obviously he's pulled other permits.
Well, I guess that remains to be determined at the next hearing.
Okay. All right. Well, then we will adjourn and we'll see everybody next month. We'll try it again. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good seeing all of you.
I'll get a report, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
This is Amit. I'll get a report, Mr. Chair, on how many permits Alex has pulled.
Okay. Okay. I mean, it sounded like they've worked with Alex before, so sounds like if they'd worked before and this is the first time that's ever happened, who knows? But we'll find out next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Signing off.
Bye.
I know.